Hey, welcome back to the channel. I want to do a video today really breaking down the very beginnings of this idea for young players of defense, of pressure, cover, and balance. My most popular video on the channel is one I did about a year ago on the bigger picture of that. I really walked through how you can set up a back four or a midfield four, walking everyone through how the defenders move as a back line as the ball goes across the field. So seeing how popular that was, I wanted to break it down a little further into literally how it starts in 2v2, right? We all know as coaches, as parents, how well, maybe we don't know as parents. I know sometimes parents get exposed to soccer by their kids playing it. But anyway, soccer defense, absolutely critical aspect of the game. It requires coordination, positioning, understanding, good soccer IQ, players communicating and connecting and being together. And so, as I was just talking about, one of the fundamental foundational concepts of that is how players position themselves on the same defensive line, even if it's a situation of 2v2, right? Now, I mentioned how I did a previous video in a back four, which is usually the biggest area that you're going to see this, that allows a team to manage threats effectively from the opposing team when they attack. So I want to get into that a little bit. We're going to break it down, and yeah, let's just get into it. All right, so we're going to break it down, go all the way down to the most basic level of team defense in the 2-2, focusing on pressure and cover, the first two roles, right? Every defender has a specific role depending on where the ball is on the field. Pressure, of course, makes sense, right? That's the player closest to the ball who's actively challenging the opponent in possession. And when I say challenge, I don't necessarily mean trying to steal the ball. They may just be in a position where they are close enough that they're taking away options, taking away lanes, taking away passing options, close enough that if there's an errant touch, they're able to attack and put pressure and maybe cause a turnover, but they're not recklessly running in right onto the player who, once you get to a certain level, obviously will simply just dribble by you. And then cover is the player positioned behind and to the side of the pressure player who's both ready to support if the pressure player is beaten, but is also ready to defend elsewhere if a pass is made. So if you start like this, and depending on your ages and so forth, you may have the players a little closer or further apart. I wouldn't go any more than a max of maybe 10 yards apart in this. You might want it a little closer, and we'll get to that for a reason. Now, also keep in mind, while might not be the focal point of your coaching, especially at youngest ages, right? The players should be using this. The players with the ball should be using this to still develop their technical skills. What I would have them do in here, when you're getting started, you're kind of walking them through it. So it's going to be slower paced. Once they're going, and maybe you do rounds of 30 seconds, you want the players to be passing to be two touch. Don't be slow. Be two touch. Try and take the pass with the second touch before the first touch stops if possible, right? But because you want the other players to have to react relatively quickly. And based on your own players, you have to adjust faster, slower. So basically, if we're starting like this, right, we're going to move up, we're going to get close enough to put pressure on the ball. Now, the second player is not going up here, or even I'm going to bring them back. Obviously, this isn't a scale just to show you something. But if we go like this, what do you have? You have, whether it's if this is the back line, a player running on like this, or if they're not offside, if they're in this position, right, this pass becomes very easy when you have two defenders playing straight across from one another. So this player is not going to be up here. They're going to be, if they start here, right, which is what you're going to get once you get the drill going, they're going to drop like this. So now they are close enough to pressure this if the ball comes over, but now this is a much more difficult pass to play through a defense when you have them staggered like this, okay? But they're still close enough that now this pass goes here. This player's coming up here to put in the defending position. This player is now coming back into the cover position, right? And that makes it very difficult to send this type of pass. Whereas if we step it up here, right, that becomes a much easier pass. So basically, that is what you want to do. And you can also set a cone if you want, right, of where that player is going, at least initially. So they're not necessarily thinking, but they're able to read and react and get to their spot. And then as they develop, take that away. And they'll learn through trial and error how close, how far apart they have to be in terms of making that pass difficult. Now, another thing, once you get to that level, you can make it so maybe give them 20 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds. Experiment with it also depending on the level and experience of your players, where we're going to put a player here. We're not going to put it right here and make it really easy because we want them to hit that ball with pass, and it has to be on the ground. We want a ball on the ground. And then run this drill where they are actually trying, and this person can move a little bit this way, but the pass has to be between, right? So now you get a little more of game tempo. The only thing is you don't want the players to attack the player with the ball. That being said, now players, of course, can go one touch to make it more difficult for the defense, but we don't want them just stopping. We don't want them slow pace, although doing so for the most part makes it more difficult for the offense in this case, right? So now we get more game tempo where they're going back and forth, and these players have to quickly adjust at game tempo where they're going to be in terms of pressure and cover, right? And you can do 20, 30-second rounds. You can then keep score as well, right? Give it that competitive element of teams, and if you want the winner, you can, if you have lines, right? Obviously, you have 16 players, you could have four groups going at once and then do that thing just like you do with games where make it so you have, the top level, which is maybe, Champions League. And then the next level is, English Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga or MLS if you want to throw American in there at the bottom one, and winners, which in this case is the team that won as defenders, moves up, right? So maybe you do 4 rounds each, 30, right? That's only 2 minutes. Um, and they each do 2 rounds and winners move up, losers move down. But this, I think, is just a really, really basic way of getting these players to where it just becomes, you want it to become second nature. And like I said, this is good technically for the offensive players as well. When you're doing it without the competitive element, two touches fine. As the players get used to it, you move to the competitive element. These players will start playing one touch in order to catch the defense off. They're going to speed up the game of play. So it's good for them as well from a technical standpoint as well. So that's important. You're not necessarily focusing on them in terms of your coaching. You're focusing on the defense, but it's still going to help them as well. And also, as they get really good at that and they become really good with their passing and that tempo, becomes a little bit of a conditioning game as well, which doesn't hurt. So it can also be something that once your players nail this, can be a really simple 4, 5, 6 minute warm up just to get the blood flowing, get touches on the ball as well for your team and get them ready to practice. So anyway, if you have questions, let me know in the comments below. Really do appreciate you checking this out. Hopefully you found it helpful. And yeah, I let the channel go for a while. I had so much going on with everything else, but I'm making it a priority. I'm going to start doing these on a regular basis. So also let me know what it is you want to see. Like, comment, subscribe. It's the only way YouTube knows to show the video to others, and it lets me know that this is a topic that you want to see more of. So I'm going to leave it there. I'll talk to you in the next one.